So let's go to Kirsten in Texas. Wants to talk about religious communities and the benefits that they might offer versus secular communities, as well as whether or not if atheists think they're smarter than agnostics. Is that correct, Kirsten?
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, what specifically did you want to ask?
Oh, well, first of all, I'm so excited to be on your show, and I am a big fan. I turn it on sometimes when stuff in the news is making me mad, and I just want to hear atheists crush somebody.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes. Okay, but personally, I'm agnostic, kind of in an atheist way. But anyway, I've noticed because I used to be religious, and I've seen a lot of blogs and read some stuff about the benefits of religion, and specifically not really the religion itself, but being a part of a community, seeing people, and for me, because I have kids, sometimes I feel like, because when they were little, I took them to church, and then I lost my faith and I stopped, and sometimes I feel like they lost out on really good family activities, like church camp and stuff like that. And there are camps, but they're really expensive, and church camps are cheaper. But anyway, that type of thing, that maybe I've heard of some secular things that do that. Like there's a church called Oasis. And I wonder, is that something that really could benefit people if they had an atheist, agnostic type community to go to weekly or so? What do y'all think?
I definitely think so. I mean, there's Harvard's done an 80-year study on happiness, and if you just kind of Google Harvard 80-year study on happiness, it'll take you right to that link that shows that the biggest contributor to happiness, in fact, it's such a big contributor, you could almost call it the only contributor, but it's not, is community, the number of people you know and interact with. So having a community is incredibly important. But I would say that it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a religious community. It just has to be a community. And we have so many ways to build communities now, starting online and then moving to offline. And if you're interested in tabletop gaming, you can find a community there, either on Meetup or on Facebook, right? Just type in where you live and tabletop gaming or those kinds of things. And so you can build your community off of however many different interests you have, just in doing that. Kid stuff is always out there too, so you can find those. You don't have to go to a church to do that. You don't, and Oasis is a good, Oasis has got some good stuff going on too. So any of those things will work. So yeah, I think community is incredibly important. You just got to find it.
Yeah.
With church, it kind of comes along with the building. And so we don't have buildings very often. So that helps quite a bit.
Yeah, and that does make it more convenient.
Yes, it does. But we have Facebook and we have Meetup, and we have, other social media. So any of those will work as well to find your community and to find your tribe.
Yeah. Have y'all seen successful, things like Oasis, communities built around, I don't know, just like families of non-believers getting together?
I haven't been to an Oasis, so J. Mike, I don't know.
No, I haven't. I mean, it's when I flew to Austin and hung out for the back cruise. I was talking with this guy Travis, and he had mentioned some like a life church kind of thing. I can't remember specifically. I'm sure a lot of people probably know what it is, but it wasn't very they didn't push religion. They invited anybody, whether you're trans, gay, straight, right, anything and everything, and it didn't, from my understanding, wasn't like forcing any type of kind of religious dogma or tenets or anything. And if that works for people, that's great. I don't know if that fits the kind of mold you're looking for, or that kind of community thing.
Yeah.
I don't remember what that was called, and hopefully I'm not just entirely straw manning what it is that they even do, or I'm saying that this is a something worth considering when it isn't. I mean, I can't give much details, but I have, to answer your question directly, I have seen things, or I've heard people talk about stuff like that. I come from a different setting where I've never felt the need for that kind of stuff. Like, I think I'm just kind of where Jim is on it. I have like, it's like I really enjoy like pinball and stuff. I've really started getting into that, and I found this community of people. They're a lot older guys, but they're really, really cool. I have a blast, do tournaments on Wednesdays and stuff like that, or different people I know online that like philosophy. I like going on TikTok, and I have a bunch of friends I've met on there, and I feel like I have this community of people that are like-minded in that sense. I guess I don't really see why it matters on whatever proposition, like the God proposition or tabletop gaming. Like I don't see what difference it is, unless someone's like, no, I want a community that talks about, questions about life and stuff. And then I just kind of say, look, I mean, find people who enjoy science or philosophy, and those are the people that are thinking about those kind of questions. But for like the kid kind of consideration, I have no idea. I mean, I went to my friends' church camps and stuff growing up. Just I'd go with them, but I don't know. I don't feel like I would have missed out on anything had I not gone to a couple of those. Right? Like it was really, I don't know, probably benefited for not going to those. So
yeah, and J-Mike reminded me that, yeah. J-Mike reminded me that there's a church that we've actually, the ACA has done events at in the before times, where we have rented their church and done stuff there because the pastor is an atheist, and his congregation knows. So he doesn't do a lot of Bible thumping. He doesn't do any, as far as I know. So you may be able to find a church like that, because that is the ready-made group there. That you can do that. But as for your kids, the other thing I was thinking too, take them to a playground. If there are anything like some of the kids,
definitely.
yeah, and the kids will make friends, and then you'll make friends with the parents, right? So off you go, and that's just completely.
You know what, the reason, and I don't know if other atheists, I think they have had the same problem. The reason I was specifically thinking about maybe starting a group like this, and I wanted to see if it was something y'all had seen was successful, is because we are like atheists, and I'm agnostic, but when we go to places like that, we're always running into religious people. And it's so hard for my kids to make friends with people, because then as soon as, I know I've heard other callers say this, as soon as the parent finds out that my kids are atheists, they don't want my kids to be friends with theirs, So
yeah.
We'll have to find another group. It might not be, like you said, it could be a pinball group. It doesn't have to be religious or non-religious, but yeah, we just have to start our own group of something.
Right. And there's a number of groups out there. Some of them come with, Humanist Society can help you start up groups. There's probably some other mega groups like that can help you set something up, or, you just fire up a Facebook or a meetup. On Facebook is usually free, and, start advertising the events that you want to do. Since you've got kids, I would advertise that. A lot of the atheist groups that I'm aware of don't cater to kids, because not a lot of their members have kids. And that's kind of a problem. So I would definitely, put that out there as a feature. Is it family friendly or something along those lines? You can use code words. Freethinker. Secular is not so much a code word anymore. But
are there other code words besides secular?
I'm trying to think of the other ones. Critical thinker, free thinkers. Pardon?
Yeah, like humanist, maybe? Free thinker.
Yeah, humanist. Yeah, cool. Those. Yeah. Now, in fact, I got my first atheist community was the Human Society of Greater Phoenix, and so I definitely recommend looking at the Humanist Society, and they may have a group near you. They may not. So
I do want to mention, actually, because you're bringing up something, and I like it. Just remember this. One of my best friends called me, and he called me kind of fired up, like, man, I was like, I love what you guys do. I love watching debates and stuff. He's like, but because this is where I think you're right. We basically we're going to have to take an initiative, right? Us as atheists or agnostics, we have to take an initiative. We have to go out, do stuff. Because when he called me, he was like, I'm kind of sick of, I'll see people I know help, with some church event, they'll help the homeless, and they'll do that. And I don't like that they that gets to be used kind of above us, because it's up to us to do that. And when he called me, I mean, it's so true, right? That we can have these debates, we can have these talks. Hopefully that increases more, it gets people fence sitters. But if we all just continue to kind of play that game and not play, the real game that we're trying to do here, which is create these communities in different areas where it just becomes massive over time or swallows more people up, right? That if we don't do that ourselves, it's not going to happen at all. And so, this really, it's a call for us to start doing that. I'm complacent myself. I think a lot of us are complacent. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of, I don't know how do I begin, all this kind of stuff. But I mean, imagine how good you will feel if you do take that initiative. You look back and say, look, I started a 25 group, whatever, but I did it. I did it. An organization or a community or whatever. So, you feel good about it, and you'd be putting the cog in the wheel where we need it the most, or making the wheel go.
And it is work. I mean, the ACA got started off I believe, over a coffee table. So, that's how we got started. The Human Society of Greater Phoenix started in the back of a Denny's. They have their own building now, just like the ACA does. I think they're actually producing content now too, but they've been going for, a decade or two, at least. So those folks are there. But it is going to be some work, and it's going to take some consistency, right? Figure out a day and a time where you want to be every week, every 2 weeks, whatever you choose, and make sure you're there. And that'll go a long way to starting that, building that.
Well, and then there was another thing I wanted to say. We did start a secular homeschool group for teens. I was just thinking about whether or not I should try to do something bigger, but
that sounds
a few other families.
Sorry, I mean, interrupt. That sounds amazing just already. I mean, that's not something I was anticipating for you to say. So,
well, because everybody, I mean, so many other homeschool groups are just religious, and like I said, it's hard to make friends that way because the parents don't want their kids to learn atheism. So we started a group and I didn't know if anyone was going to come, but I did find other people, and they're homeschooling because it's fun, or because their kids get stressed out at school, and they're not religious, and it is exciting to meet it. So I was just reaching out to find out if I should try to build it up more or not. But it sounds like maybe I should.
Yeah, and I would suggest try to bolster the teen thing, but also then now you've got a spin-off group you can do. You can do the parents of the teens. Right, you can start getting them together and doing stuff, and those kinds of things as well.
Talk way more than the kids.
Yeah.
Oh, let me ask on my second one, because I know you guys have to rush on to lots of other calls, but I'm pretty. Maybe it's a holdover from when I used to be, because I grew up in a religious church with my dad was a minister, is Presbyterian. Maybe I'm just hanging on to that because that's how I was till I was 35. But my kids, I've taught them atheism strongly, and they debate me, and they're like, "Mom, why can't you just admit that there's nothing else?" And I'm like, "No, I'm holding on to something." But I'm just wondering, do atheists sometimes look down on agnostics a little bit?
Jim, do you want to start with this? I mean.
Well, I don't speak for the atheist community. I barely speak for myself sometimes.
I feel you there.
Yeah, and I don't. I think there are atheists who think that the atheist position is better than the agnostic position. I think a lot depends on how pedantic you're going to get about the term atheist. For instance, I am also, while I call myself an atheist, I am technically an agnostic atheist. I do not make the counterclaim that there is no God, which technically atheism does make. That is the claim that there is no God.
Right.
But I find that if I say that I'm an agnostic, that one, I have to explain what that means to most people, and two, it doesn't really get through to theists as to what my position is. So I use the term atheist in a more colloquial sense. So I think a lot depends on where you are on that spectrum of agnostic to atheist and how you actually want to use those words.
Yeah,
True.
I think I have a similar sentiment. I mean, my position, I take the position that gods do not exist is my position. And so I guess if you're talking about an atheist construed that way, because I think words don't have prescriptive usage. They have usage that can be molded or at least used in different contexts. So I don't have any issue with, I think an atheist is somebody that doesn't believe God exists or thinks that God does not exist. Right. So,
right.
If you're just talking directly to me, I have agnostic friends that call themselves agnostic. In the way that they use it, they're suspending belief on, the proposition God exists, the proposition God does not exist. They're just reserving their judgment. I know a lot of agnostics, like one of my really good friends, Amdir, like just incredibly smart. He's agnostic. I think I know more. I find a lot of agnostics that I talk to are usually the ones that I find being very smart. They have good considerations on both sides in some cases. But I think there are atheists that do that. I'm not one of them. I think that that's a really weird thing to do. Or especially if you're just like, if you try to tell them, oh, you're really just an atheist. I mean, it'd be the same thing if someone came up to you and said, oh, you're really just an agnostic. It's just better to express what you mean by the term. This is what I mean when I use the term. Can we use that concept going forward? Because if you just want to have a semantic battle, it's just not really worth my time. And so I don't see the hierarchy on this kind of question. It just seems silly for anybody that would think that. I think that's the same for theists too. I think it's silly to think theists are inherently stupid or dumb. Or I've seen people online say they have they're mentally ill. Like that's just ridiculous. It's a ridiculous claim. There are so many people that are theists that work in the scientific fields that are brilliant thinkers, right? We just don't agree on a proposition. I mean, it's not crazy to think that that's possible,
Yeah, we have debates at my house where my kids say, you need to just realize that there's no proof of God and just admit that there isn't. And I tell them, yeah, well, it's more logical to say that you don't know if there is or not. So I'm right. And then they are like, yeah, but you know that there probably isn't. The probability is so tiny that there is that you might as well say it's not. So we kind of go back and forth. We can't really prove it to each other.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I think the answer to there is no evidence is to simply say there is no evidence, but we don't know everything. As long as science has questions, we don't know everything. We'll know everything only when science is no longer asking questions. Then we'll know everything. You can still be an agnostic and say there is no evidence for me to accept that claim. Because the agnostic position is there's also no evidence to accept the claim that there is no God, right? And I agree with you that the odds of a God are probably so close to zero it really doesn't matter. And I don't want to put a number on that. That's as far as I will say. But that's just because every supernatural phenomenon, every phenomenon that was claimed to be supernatural has a natural explanation, or we just don't know yet. So that's the most honest position. So that, there is no winning that. But yeah, I mean, if you really ask me, I'll say I think the odds are so close to zero that it doesn't matter anymore. But that doesn't make me an atheist because I'm not willing to take that extra step to be 100% positive. So.
Yeah, me too. I'm not willing to say for sure unless I am for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get to another person.
Well, let me before you go, real quick, Kirsten. If you can, if it interests you, email tv@atheist-community.org. So it's tv@atheist-community.org. And email and ask about some additional resources. Sorry? We're gonna put it up on the screen right now for you. Yeah, like TV. Yeah, like television. tv@atheist-community. You can pause the screen if you want to go back and make sure you don't get anything wrong spelling there, and email us, and we can give you additional resources because we have teachers that volunteer for that kind of advice that you're
good
looking for. Sorry.
Yeah, and it would be so great to build up the atheist community here like you guys have in Austin.
Yeah.
We got to expand it. I mean, that's the number one way to move things forward, I will say. That's the way that I'll phrase it.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
I'll definitely email you guys.
Well, thank you so much. We do appreciate this is a very important call, so I'm glad we started off with
Great.
with this call. So thank you so much.
Me too. I didn't have to wait on hold too long.
No, you didn't. I wanted to take I wanted to take you immediately. Yep. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you so much.